Hi, my name is Victoria Stewart-Meyers. That's hyphenated. It's not my legal name, but it's how you look me up. It's Victoria Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T Myers, M-E-Y-E-R-S. And you can find my website, victoriastewartmeyers.com, no dashes or anything. Or you can check me out on Instagram, Victoria_on-the-road. Also, I have several Facebook pages, but the two main ones that where I post things where you can find me is facebook.com/healthytruther, all one word, or facebook.com/VictoriaOTR. So this video is for STCO 526, Strategic Storytelling, and the assignment is my personal Storybrand video, and I am using Storybranding 2.0 by Jim Signorelli as the basis for the backbone, the spine, I guess, of my brand, or my brand story, or how I'm going to define my brand story. And so then I tried to answer these questions. What is your personal brand? How does your sense of your personal brand shape your story? How has God gifted you? This is actually a question that I have been working on for many years, long before I ever took this class. So I don't know the answers yet, but I worked hard to try to put them into the story brief process. So here goes. I have a tendency to really overthink everything, and it bogs me down and makes it impossible for me to write papers and do these videos and things in these assignments in like timely manner. And so I've written some notes, but I'm going to just start because I'm driving myself crazy. We're supposed to use 160 to 161, which is the story brief. So Signorelli says the first part of the story brief is the backstory. So my backstory is trauma, abuse, poverty. The one thing that I always wanted to be when I was growing up was a mom, because my mom was a terrible mom. And as a kid, that was the only thing that I had to draw on in life. And it became a big focus of my life, how much I wanted to be a mom, how much I wanted to be a good mom. And I came up with this idea that in order to be a good mom, that I had to do the opposite of everything my mom did, which it took a long time, but I finally learned that that was not working either. My backstory. I only ever wanted to be a mom, but it was over too soon. I never really got to do it the way I wanted to do it anyway. And my kids are all grown and gone. And then I had to figure out, okay, well, who am I now? So this is actually something I've been thinking about for a really long time. I've come across certain assignments in my education since I started going back to school in 2016 that kind of blew me away, that it's part of figuring out who you are. Like when I had to write a character sketch for 3D art, which I thought that was really odd, but it helped me to define who I am and what my art was about. And so this assignment being about who I am and what my product is. And I find that interesting because I started thinking about that back in 2018. I wrote on my Instagram profile, I don't want to make my life about a product. I want my life to be my product. Because I have never been able to come up with my one product, my one, keep it simple, stupid product, right? I have all these different portions of my life, My core beliefs, my inner layer, according to Signorelli, the next step is to find out your inner layer, right? Define your brand's inner layer. What value or important belief does the brand champion? Archetypal analysis. For me, I am the know-it-all. I'm the straight shooter. I'm the rebel. I'm the purist. So I can't even define myself in, you know, one of these. For me, truth. Even when it hurts, truth is what drives me in everything, whether it is health advocacy that I have engaged in, or if it is, you know, in the past I worked as an autism advocate for my son. He's grown now and he doesn't need me to do that anymore. Truth, even when it hurts. Never make promises because you can't control the outcomes. When someone tells you who they are, believe him. Those are the things that are part of my inner layer. So then my outer layer then is that I'm a mom. I was a mom. I'm an artist. I'm a poet, an activist. I'm a photographer. I'm still a mom. Just I don't have kids now to be a mom to. So then that brings you to the I am statement. Well, I write this in different versions on my bios, on websites, you know, Instagram, whatever, but I am a photographer, a poet, a songwriter, an artist, an activist, a mom. Before I started on this journey to go back to school, I had my daughter was a singer-songwriter, and then she quit. After 2.5 years, she just quit. She just up and quit. She turned 17 and she became, you know, how 17-year-old kids are. And I found out that kids will rebel no matter what kind of parent you are. If you're a parent who says, do all your homework and get all your chores done and blah, 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 they're gonna rebel. But if you're a parent who says, go out and make your own way, find out who you are, they're gonna rebel about that too. So when I dropped everything and supported my daughter in her career, that didn't really work out. But then she took off, and I was left there after I had literally focused my entire life on my kids, and I didn't know who I was anymore. So I started writing poetry. I mean, I had been a poet all my life, but I started writing poetry as a way to stay alive, basically. It was offered to me by a local poet to take a workshop with her. Gave me a scholarship, and I guess the rest is history. So over that winter, I wrote my entire book that I have self-published on Amazon. It's called The History of My Heart. As I was writing the poetry, it's all biographical. It's about my trauma. It's about my childhood. It's about my abusive husbands. As I was writing it and as I was putting it together and putting the poems into certain order, is when I started to realize that it was a product. And as I was writing it, I was going to these open mics every week and I would read the poetry that I had written. People responded to me in a way that was new to me. People would, when I read a poem, people's mouths drop open, tears fall. It's usually, it's emotional for people. It's emotional for me, it's emotional for people in my audience. And afterwards, people come up to me and they say, you know, they tell me things. They tell me their story, or they hint at their story, or they're just crying and they hug me, or whatever. And I began to realize that I have a unique way of being able to put words to feelings that people are afraid of, but want to express. That was kind of what put me on the road into my art. So my obstacles, okay, Signorelli says, after you've done your inner layer and your outer layer and your I am statement, that you have to define your obstacles. So what are my obstacles? Well, my biggest obstacle is I don't know what heading to set my course to. The basic parts of me are that I'm a truther, I'm a health advocate, I'm an artist, I'm an author and a poet. Part of truthing for me is in the Bible. I began to study the Bible way back in 1997. Before that, I was an agnostic. I guess you ask me, what has God gifted me with? And I think that most of the time, because I have a long history of suicidal tendencies and thoughts, most of the time I'm very negative. And so thinking of what has been gifted to me is difficult for me. I know that I've been gifted with discernment, which is what makes me a know-it-all, which is what is not necessarily a gift to me sometimes. I mean, it is a gift to me, but it also separates me from people. Because I don't know, I'm not good at conversation. I'm not good at, you know, the back and forth, the rituals that we go through. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. These things just totally, I hate it so much. I don't understand it. I don't know why people keep doing it. And the more important what I have to say is, the more frustrated I am with that process. And so I put people off. So I have this dream. The wildest dreams, what I would enjoy doing with the rest of my life, is to buy like a big old house in a downtown area like Hot Springs, where I came from, or Galveston, or some sort of a smallish art town. And I want to create a place that is a haven for young people, a 24-hour artist co-op, coffee shop, art studios to rent, recording studios to rent, gallery space, and I would live there, and I would have, you know, core people that live there with me, and we would run that place. So is that my product? Is my art my product? I don't know. So who's my prospect? Well, if I don't know who my product is, then I don't know who my prospect is. I don't know how to define my prospect, because I don't know how to define my product. That's what I wrote here. So I've often been told in my life that, you know, I've worked in sales, I've worked in photography, I've worked in telemarketing, I've worked in taxes. I was a tax preparer for a long time, and my first degree is in accounting. I've never been able to get people to give me money for anything. I've been told, oh, you'd be a great salesman. I've been told by my sales managers, you're a great salesman. And I would say, but I'm not, because look at my numbers. I have no, I can't get people to give me money. And eventually they would realize that that was true, and they would give up on me. So I've never been able to get anybody to give me money for anything, so I don't know how to define that. My prospect should be the person who wants to fund my art, or fund my co-op, or buy my art, or buy my book, but I can't figure out how to define her. So the inner layer of my prospect then, I don't know. Is it the person that I'm helping, or is it the person who's funding the helping? Because I don't have any money, so obviously I can't do it. Unique value proposition is that I'm a know-it-all who turns people off and can't get money. So I guess that's me. That's my brand. Confused. I don't know what else to say. I looked all through this book, and I was trying to find, you know, like a quote. And I don't know. Oprah Winfrey said, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. She said that. God, she said that too in a show that I watched when I was a teenager. It's always stuck with me. It took me a long time to learn what it meant. I finally figured out what it meant. I try to live by it. It's true. That's what I got for you. I'm Victoria.